Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs and square holes. They're not fond of rules and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them or disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the one thing you cannot do is ignore them because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius because the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones that do. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have some world changers in here tonight. Let's give them a hand. Those were the words of Steve Jobs from Apple. And now, here's what I'm going to start off by saying. I know my father's here. She announced that my father's a graduate of Topeka High, and he's a Trojan. That's cool. My children are here. They're going to graduate from Topeka West. They're Chargers. That's neat. But me, we graduated from Highland Park. And if you graduated from Highland Park, you know it's not cool. If you graduated from Highland Park, it's not neat. If you graduated from Highland Park, it's great. Let me hear you say, it's great to be a Scot. That's what I'm talking about. It's great to be a Scot. Now, as I look out on this crowd, I realize that we have some world changers in here today. And I'm not just talking about the people sitting in these chairs. I'm talking about the people in the stands as well, and the teachers and the faculty. That you're changing the world. And I know this is a graduation, but it's also a celebration. And let me tell you how I know it's a celebration, because there's some family and friends in the stands right now who went the extra mile, who gave everything they had, who stayed up late, who helped to study, who enrolled people in summer school, who paid an extra price for tutors. And you are the reason they're here today. So make no mistake, because of you, this is a celebration. I know it's a celebration because there's some teachers in here, some teachers who stayed up late, some teachers who stayed after class, who put in the extra work, who called the student into their office and talked to them and encouraged them, who wrote the extra lesson, who gave the extra credit, who went the extra mile. And because of you, they are here today. This is a celebration. Now listen, there's some students sitting in these seats that gave it everything they had. That some of them, it took their very last bit of effort to be here. That school wasn't easy for them. Some of them, it wasn't their first language. Some of them, it wasn't their first high school. Some of them transferred into the community. But you know what they did? They give every single thing they had so they can be here today. And since we understand that it took the parents, it took the family members, it took the teachers, and it took the students' effort, let's give them a hand, because this is a celebration. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm only going to share 3 things with you. I'm going to tell you 3 things because I believe that you have the opportunity to change the world. That as you sit here today and you walk across this stage, this is only the beginning. But here's the first thing you have to have. You have to have a vision. Whatever it is you want for your life, that's up to you. But here's what I know. There's going to be people who tell you you can't do it. Let me tell you how I know. She told you that I graduated from Highland Park. I went to the military. I became a surgical technologist. And that's where we pass instruments to the surgeons. And then I went to the Gulf War, Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm. And while I was there, I got a chance to assist some surgeons. And when I came back, I said, wait a minute. I want to be a professional assistant. That I just want to get a phone call from a doctor, whether it was a neurosurgeon or an orthopedic surgeon or a GYN surgeon, and I wanted them to say, Ruben, I want you to come assist me on my surgery today. The problem? That didn't exist. And so when I told people, this is what I want to do, I want to go into this profession, I want to get phone calls and have them call me, and I want to go in and help, you know what they said? It's not possible. that your degree is criminal justice, that you don't have a degree in medicine and you don't have a degree in nursing. That's not possible for you. And here's what I'm going to tell you. There's going to be people, when you tell them what you want to do, they're going to tell you it's not possible for you. They're going to tell you you're not smart enough. They're going to tell you because of your background, it won't work. They're going to tell you because of your parents, it's not going to be available for you. But here's what I'm going to tell you. You have greatness in you, that you're a Scott. And if you're a Scott, it's not a question if it's available for you. It's just a matter of whether you're willing to work for it. For me, I decided I was going to work for it. That I wasn't going to let them tell me what I could be or could do or couldn't have. No. If it's going to be, it was up to me. And that's the same thing for you. And so I'm proud to say that right now in the state of Kansas, the profession of surgical first assisting does exist. That we wrote the scope of practice. We wrote the job description. We wrote the curriculum. We started it. And you know why I knew I could start it? Not because I was good, not because I was cool, but that I was a Scott. And we know it's great to be a Scott. Everybody say it's great to be a Scott. Now listen, here's another thing I'm going to tell you. That not only do you have to have a vision, that you have to put in the work. If anybody in here has been to the Highland Park gym and you've seen a poster of Melvin Douglas, one of the best wrestlers that ever come out of this country, you'll see him standing there with his finger lifting up. Now let me tell you about Melvin Douglas, because I just talked to him on the phone the other day. Melvin Douglas was the junior national freestyle champion. He was the 3-time state champion. He was a 2-time All-American. He was a 2-time national champion. He competed in the Olympics 2 times. He was a 7-time senior freestyle champion. He won the world championships. But when you see him standing there with his finger up, what I want you to know about Melvin Douglas is he put in the work. And see, one thing about when you go after what you want, you're going to have to put in the work. And here's what I want you to know about putting in the work, that there's going to be times where people don't even know you're doing it. You see, Melvin, when he was running the stairs, Melvin, when he was doing the push-ups and sit-ups, Melvin, when he was cutting weight to make sure he could wrestle, there was no one there. That he was all alone. And that he knew that no one could do it for him, that he had to do it himself. But I think there was something in Melvin that let him know that not only could he be a state champion and a national champion, that he could be a world champion. And I believe that it always goes back to your foundation. And if you want to know the foundation of Melvin Douglas was a Scott. And we know it's great to be a Scott. The last thing I'm going to tell you is that you got to force yourself to take the next step. I was just watching a video on the internet of a lady named Yvonne Nathich, and she was running a marathon. It was a 26.5-mile marathon. It was in Austin, Texas. It was hot, and she was winning the race. And then with 300 yards to go to the finish line, her body gave out. And see, if I don't know if you know what it's like to run a marathon, so I talked to a few people who ran marathons, and here's what they said. They said that you hit a wall, that all of a sudden you can't breathe anymore, that all of a sudden you start to get dizzy, that when you're taking steps, you can hear yourself breathing in your head. For Yvonne Nathich, she fell down, she hit the ground. That was it. She was on her hands and knees. The reason I'm telling you is because when you go after what you want, there's going to be times that you fall down. There's going to be times that you don't know if you can get up. There's going to be times that you don't know if you can make it. But here's what I'm going to tell you. You have to find a way to just take the next step. Yvonne, she started crawling. See, nobody would have said anything if she would have gave up. As a matter of fact, they rushed out there. They brought her a wheelchair. They brought her some water. They tried to help her up. And she said, no, that I started this race and I'm going to finish it. And even though she couldn't stand up, she started crawling. All she was focused on was taking the next step. When you hit the wall, when you don't know how you're going to make it, all I want you to do is focus on taking the next step. She started to crawl, step after step after step. After a while, her hands got dirty. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Sometimes you're going to have to get dirty. She started to crawl. Guess what? Her knees got bloody. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Sometimes your knees are going to get dirt bloody. But guess what? She did not stop. She kept taking the next step. Yvonne, Natish, she finished the race on her knees. And what I want you to know, that if you finish, it's okay if you do it on your knees. You know why? Because done is better than perfect. And so what I want you to know is that this is your next step, that you have the opportunity to go out and change the world. And here's what I want you to think about. If you just want to change your life, focus on what you're going to drive. But if you want to change the world, you're going to have to focus on what drives you. If you just want to change your life, focus on where you're going to live. But if you want to change the world, you have to focus on what's living in you. If you want to change your life, focus on where you're going to work. But if you're going to change the world, you're going to focus on what's working in you. Ladies and gentlemen, you have the opportunity to change the world. And so here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in square holes. They're not fond of rules and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them or disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. But the one thing you cannot do, listen to this, the one thing you cannot do, one more time, the one thing you cannot do to these individuals right here, to these Scots, is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius, because the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones that do. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. West, for that powerfully inspiring message and challenge to us today.